Welcome to the Defence Connect podcast, Australia's leading voice in national security and defence industry intelligence, direct from the nation's top policy and business experts.
Well, g'day everybody, Steve Kuper here at Defence Connect. I hope you're well and you are settling into February as we count down the days to the budget 2026, which will no doubt have major ramifications for Australia's Defence Force and defence capabilities. Joining me in the studio today, we have our one and only, the gentle giant, Rob Dougherty.
Good to be here.
And the rose amongst the thorns, Bethany. Bethany, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again today, guys. It's always a good chat.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot going on in defence and industry at the moment.
Yeah, it's been, even today has been a bit of a surprise with a couple
Today's
of
been
announcements.
busy, right?
Yeah, very busy.
Yeah, and we are having to really discern what we're putting out in the bulletins on a daily basis now at the moment. We've got a lot of news coming, which is really, really nice to see.
It's a good change.
Yeah, especially after Christmas and New Year, it's always quite quiet. But it's nice to see that industry starting to kind of gather pace again, which is very good to see. And I'll kick us off. I'll go first today. Minister Conroy has announced that the government is looking to launch a $500 million contribution investment arm to work alongside private venture capital organs to drive innovation within defence and industry, which is a really interesting and well-needed capability to sit within the Australian government's repertoire and portfolio of defence capability development.
Yeah. And those targeted areas are artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, autonomous systems, electronic warfare, and quantum technologies.
Okay, so AUKUS Pillar 2.
Pretty much everything, yeah.
AUKUS Pillar 2, yeah.
It's all the key words there, the hype words.
Yeah, I do have some questions, particularly around how are they going to juggle and navigate the questions around foreign investment and things like that.
Yeah.
Is it going to be sectioned off to only certain nations providing capital? And how's it going to work when you have essentially, in essence, a monopsony? I think I got that word right.
Monopsony.
Yeah, it's where there's one client, but it's one customer, but you've got a number of competing businesses.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, as opposed to a monopoly, which is where you've got one business and multiple customers. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that works out, and we will watch with bated breath. We do have National Defence Strategy 2026 scheduled for release in April-May timeframe, so no doubt this will figure strongly in what that looks like.
It's interesting that this is being announced now. I mean, we're pretty far down the path of some of these technologies, cybersecurity, AI, Ghost Shark and stuff with Anduril for undersea warfare, and quantum technologies has had a couple of announcements. It is interesting that this is being announced now rather than, say, a year ago or something like that.
Yes, true.
And I can't help but wonder, maybe some of this investment could be coming from the defence estate funding that's going to come out, or maybe they're budgeting this, Maybe that defence estate funding is freeing up some of this funding, or
well, that's a good question. Where is the money coming from? Is this new money? Will it be its own separate line item of new money within the defence budget, which will be released in May as part of the federal budget? Like what? Yeah. If this isn't new money, where's
it coming from?
Where's it coming from? What capability is being scaled back?
Yeah.
or is this money coming from, to your point, Rob, the defence estate sale, which is interesting that they're considering they're expecting that the total revenue raise will be about $1.8 to $2 billion, which I think is
low.
I think that's low.
Oh, really?
Very
massively low. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Especially considering some of the land.
Yeah.
I think it's quite low.
Some of the Sydney, properties in Sydney are extraordinarily would be valued very
Yeah.
highly. They would be
Is
in the
that
millions.
money all going to be reinvested into defence?
Well, that's what government said.
Yeah.
Is that what they're
It's
going
not
to do?
going to go into consolidated revenue, but it depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Like $500 million to normal people sounds like a lot of money.
It's not
But
a lot in defence.
It's a rounding error, really,
Yeah.
in defence, in the way in which defence spending is tabulated.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
if you look at some of those bigger programs like Hunter program and stuff,
Yeah.
what are they at now? Is it 8 billion?
More than that,
Something
I
per?
think nine was
billion.
Marcus Hellier's figures from late last year. It was about $9 billion a ship. They're the most expensive non-aircraft carriers in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's some big cash there.
Yeah. They better be good.
Yeah, I like the idea that this is focusing on export-ready technologies. Anything that we can kind of co-invest with and we can develop as a product to be sold to other countries is a big ticket.
That's a very good outcome. And that's something there's been a missing gap there for a while within the
Should
way.
have happened sooner.
Yeah. That's been a very key missing capability gap within the government's policy settings. And successive governments have failed to deliver on that. So it's timely to see.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the next one, a little bit of a interesting story coming out of the US. Bethany, this is one of yours.
Yes.
The Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program
Yeah.
that Shield AI has joined.
Yep. So they were selected as the primary autonomous provider for the program. So their Hivemind AI software is going to be integrated into Anduril's Fury aircraft.
Interesting.
Yeah, for autonomous flight testing. So Hivemind is like their main product, I guess you would say, and it replicates a human pilot to make decisions and actually act on them. So a lot of like the other ones sort of just make decisions and then people can act on them as they like want to. But this one, the AI software actually does the actions as well. So it'll be interesting to see. It can reroute the aircraft into no-fly zones or around no-fly zones and respond to obstacles. So
Interesting.
it's very interesting, yeah. The Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program, it's a bit of a mouthful.
CCA, just call it CCA.
CCA,
Everybody will know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's going to be like just trying to get more autonomous and I guess tech forward aircraft for the US.
We've seen a lot of Fury recently. Within the last year. I think they were at Avalon. Was it last year, year before? They had a mock-up.
Avalon was last year.
And then
They had the full size mock-up from memory.
yeah. So
A full-size one?
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah. I don't think it was operational. It was just
No,
a
it
model,
was
but
just a model, yeah.
That's cool.
certainly Fury's had a lot of attention. Yeah.
And it's interesting. This whole program obviously works. It's split between two companies. You've got Anduril with Fury, and General Atomics with their YFQ-42, which is interesting that the US Air Force is going down the path of having two companies developing an aircraft to compete against one another. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And there's lessons there for Australia with the Ghost Bat and its continuing evolution, which, Rob, I believe you have written about recently with the Block 3 aircraft to feature larger wingspans, internal communications, and internal weapon systems.
Yeah, so this is something that came out of the Singapore Air Show. Basically, we had the global director for that program, Glenn Ferguson, come out and confirm some details about that there would be a larger wingspan, as you said, extended range, updated communications, and that internal weapons bay or bomb bay. And I thought that's a good development. You know, you want your progress to be for the next Block 3 to be bigger and better. I do kind of draw the line there about that internal weapons bay, and I'll get some thoughts from you guys as well, because I feel like the whole point of this Ghost Bat program is that these Ghost Bats are an attritable asset. Basically, you've got your quarterback, which is your F-35, and
Or
then it's
E7, as we saw recently.
or E7, and it's running a couple of these which are weaponized decoys, essentially. They're soaking missiles or shooting at missiles. Now, let's then use that in the context of an internal weapons bay for missiles. what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to use a ghost bat that's has a better radar signature, but it has an internal weapons bay? Or are we just saying, let's just run the ghost bat with no internal weapons bay, just kit it out with a couple of missiles and have potentially a faster product to market without having to develop that? And I draw you back to Anduril here with the Fury. Anduril has set up their Fury with an internal weapons bay from the get-go. That was always in the design.
Yeah.
And we're now saying the Ghost Bat, they're going to have to develop that for the Block 3 upgrade. It sounds like a lot of work to integrate that whole thing. So I just don't know where we're going with this. It's quoted from the Singapore Air Show that these changes that are being made for Block 3 are to meet RAF design reference missions. So meet their specifications. But it is, I feel like this is a genuine question to ask. Like, why are we doing the internal weapons bay, right? What do you guys think?
You first.
You first.
This is pretty specific stuff.
Yeah.
And we're not aircraft engineers. But I have to question what's happening here, right?
Yeah, I get your point. Evolution has always been baked into the design from the get-go for Ghost Bat.
Yeah.
I take your point, and maybe there is a world where the Block 2s are kitted out as a credible mass.
Yeah.
But I suspect these with the internal weapons bay maybe utilise more effectively as escort aircraft for our big high value assets like the E7s or the Poseidons, where they do need to provide that degree of stealth to those assets operating at a distance, because an adversary may only detect the Ghost Bat and realise that there is a quarterback in the region or in the area, and then go and target that to effectively nullify the Ghost Bats.
Okay.
That's just a quick back of the envelope kind of thought process. That's what I could see.
I could see along with that. Maybe you don't want to have your weapons on the outside because there's a fuel saving in having an internal weapons bay, particularly for bombs and things that are probably less aerodynamic.
Yeah.
But, man, when you look back through history and you go, all of the jets that came through, it's only a really recent thing that we had internal weapons bay. For this kind of F-35 and,
for tactical aircraft. Yeah.
And it was always a stealth feature.
Yeah.
I think, apart from, maybe some bombers in history had internal weapons bays. But for actual combat aircraft that are firing missiles, very, very recent.
Yes. Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. Bethany, any thoughts?
Not really, to be honest. I think my technical knowledge needs to increase before I can have a solid opinion on this.
We'll make an aircraft nerd of you,
Yes. And if we don't, Jake definitely will. Our colleague Jake will definitely make an aircraft nerd of you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Australian Aviation.
And that brings me to the story around Indonesia preparing to deploy troops as part of the International Stabilisation Force in Gaza. I think that's another one of yours, Rob.
This is a wild card, isn't it?
It's interesting,
no one saw this coming.
Yeah.
It's a good move. And I love this from Indonesia. I mean, not only do you get a bit of international experience with your troops, you can get a bit of that goodwill, international goodwill going with the US government, which is, of course, this initiative is being led by US President Donald Trump and in border peace. But you're also getting paid to do it. There's going to be remuneration for this effort.
Yeah.
And in terms of, this is 8,000 troops that Indonesia is going to be sending potentially. I would think that that's a very small percentage of the Indonesian army.
Well, let's have a
look.
look.
Yeah, they would have a lot.
got to be a
Surely.
very small amount.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Bear with us, folks.
All you got to do is secure the borders. Sounds, that the hard work has been done there in terms of, I guess bombing by Israel and stuff. But
Let's not open that can of worms.
yeah,
again.
let's not go there. But yeah,
So
it's peacekeeping.
Estimated strength of about 300,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
what?
Indonesian. Oh, hang on. No. Yeah, that's the total for the army is an estimated total of about 300,000 people. So 8,000 people is
Not a lot.
bit of a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. There'll be engineers and health workers and stuff in that 8,000, but I can't see a downside for Indonesia. I think it's a great play.
Yeah.
And if you've got the people to spare, why not? For sure.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not this whole peace process holds.
Works. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, in a lot of ways, it's a poorly framed or poorly worded explanation, but this is a lot like holding a gun to the head of both sides and saying behave, because you have you have a big group of nations putting people on the ground. It increases the risk calculation for either side to at risk of drawing in those nations who would then seek retaliation.
Are there any other countries that are sending people?
There's a host of them. I don't think the
there'd
list
be a
has
few
been
different,
confirmed as yet.
Yeah,
I think Indonesia's the largest contributor at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, they're kind of the first cab off the rank. And I like the fact here that this is a fairly neutral thing to do. If you're Indonesia, you're not declaring for the US or China in this case.
Well, no, in a lot of ways they're declaring for themselves because of Indonesia's the most populous Muslim nation in the world.
Yeah.
They're doing that sort of work in Gaza serves to engender and build goodwill amongst the Islamic world, because Indonesia's always been a bit of an outlier when it comes to where it stands within the Muslim world. So it's
do you
There's a lot of
reckon
benefit
any
there.
Australians will be there soon? I don't know about soon, but
that's a good question. That's a question for the Prime Minister and Defence Minister and Foreign Minister as to whether
bring them on.
I can't
invite
say
them
it,
here.
to be honest.
I can't say it.
I can't say
to be
it.
honest.
We've
No.
been involved in a couple of peacekeeping operations, a lot actually, throughout Indo-Pacific, and we do have personnel there. I think there's a Middle East headquarters that we have personnel a few at, but I don't think that the general population is going to support Australian troops being used in a peacekeeping operation in the Middle East. After, we had involved in Afghanistan and that sort of, I can't see it happening.
Yeah,
and I think it's a suicidal political move if you try that.
Yeah. And when you add the added layer of the social cohesion issues that we have here in Australia at the moment because of the conflict in the Middle East, I tend to agree. It's like a kid playing with dynamite.
Yeah. Nor would Australian troops want to be there.
Yeah. That's a whole other kettle of fish. I think there'd be a lot of mums writing notes to the Prime Minister saying, "Sorry, I'm excusing my son from going, or my daughter from going to Gaza. He's got a cough, or she's got a cough."
Can you imagine being, a soldier being like, "I'm getting sent to keep the peace between Gaza and Israel"?
Yeah, that would be an insane call to get.
The morale there is,
Yeah.
you would not want to be that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, closer to home, PNG's getting new assault rifles.
Yeah, this is one we've been covering for a while now.
Yeah,
actually.
you've been tracking this for a while.
I don't want to big note ourselves here too much, but we called this.
Well, you called this.
Yeah. So PNG was part of their defence treaty with Australia. They were promised that we would give them 3,500 assault rifles. Mm-hmm. At that time, it was not known what those were going to be, because we're using the EF-88 Ostire, which is a bullpup rifle. Not many militaries use bullpup rifles, and a lot are moving to that traditional style. The AR-15s that you see, the M16s that are in the US. PNG Defence Force uses those sort of M16
AR pattern rifles.
Yeah. And so there was an issue there of, are we going to give them EF-88s because that's what we use? But then they'll have to completely retrain their personnel potentially not a good thing. And so at the time, with like a little gold star, we said they're going to get the ACAR because we have access to them. But also, it's a standard configuration rifle.
Just for people who aren't familiar, just give us a rundown on what ACAR is.
So it's the Australian Combat Assault Rifle. It's made by Tallis Australia in Lithgow, and I'm not sure that it's been adopted anywhere, but it's certainly had some trials with. We think it's had trials with the Australian Federal Police. We think it's had trials with the 2nd Commando for the Australian Army. Other than that, it's been a bit of a wild card. It's been on the scene for a while in terms of in industry. We've seen it at land forces a couple of years ago now, I think, around the 2020, 2023, somewhere there. But not adopted that I can think of. And so this is a pretty big confirmation that they're going to be sent to the PNG Defence Force.
Yeah.
And they'll be made here in Australia.
In Lithgow.
Yeah, in Lithgow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There's we found out this from a Senate estimates discussion, and there is some skepticism from that discussion about the interoperability between the Australian Defence Force and PNG now because of this.
Oh, really?
Because obviously they're going to be using different rifles.
Yeah, true.
And so are they going to have different optics? Are they going to have a different, both are still 5.56 NATO, which is the same round. But you've got to wonder, they're still a bit different. And so the training is going to be different.
It has been interesting. You and I have both been tracking the global transition away from bullpup rifles. The French are probably the biggest military that's transferred away from that with the FAMAS going to...
No, I would say probably, I mean, the UK, are they...
They haven't confirmed a rifle yet as part of Greyburn.
But it cannot be a bullpup.
Bullpup.
The tenders are all standard.
No, but in terms of sheer numbers, the French is probably are the largest.
No way.
190,000 rifles.
No. China's QBZ 75.
Okay, all right. I'm not talking about.
That's going to a standard configuration.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
There's going to be millions of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Western nations.
right. Yeah.
Western nations, I'd say the French are probably the largest getting rid of FAMAS.
Probably,
going to the HK 416, which is a personal love of mine.
Both good rifles.
Very good rifle. So that's been interesting, and as we alluded to, SIG, HK, Beretta, I think CZ are also, you're right. CZ are also competing out of the Czech Republic.
Yep.
And I think Knights Armament are competing as well.
Yep, that's them.
For Project Greyburn, which will no doubt inform.
HK has two.
They do too, don't
tenders.
they? Yes, yeah. They've got two competing rifles. They've got 416 A9 or A8, which is what the German army has just taken, and their new 433, which is an interesting looking rifle.
That's my favourite.
Yeah, you like that. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to Secretary Rubio is looking to calm some of the spooked horses.
Yes, yeah.
For people who don't know, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has provided what in essence is, for the Lord of the Rings fans, Aragorn's speech at the Black Gate. It was very, very much a case of seeking to offset and minimise some of the concerns that European nations are having around America's reprioritisation of the Western Hemisphere. And this all took place at the Munich Security Conference, where he basically put most of them on notice, most of the European nations on notice in particular, highlighting the fact that they need to get their act together in terms of lifting their industrial capacity, rectifying some of their, how do you say this?
Defence spending shortages.
That one. Yeah, there's that one. There's the social cohesion and migration issues that they're all confronting at the moment, and the implications of that, which is really interesting.
Is this a reply to the Mark Carney speech, do you think?
I don't. Yeah, possibly.
Because that was a big one.
Possibly. But he's Canadian, so who really listens to him.
I like Mark Carney.
Yeah, I know you do, but
I
there's
actually
no
like-
accounting for taste.
I didn't like him until that speech. And
I
I'm
like
wow,
him.
that was an epic speech. Whoever wrote that, I don't
Good
know if
speechwriter.
Carney wrote that, but that was amazing.
Yeah, well, my a friend of mine who was a speechwriter for Australian Pollies and I were talking about this speech from Rubio, and we were both saying this is the sort of speech that a speechwriter really wants to write. Like it was a really, really good, really good speech. So, and key touch points for the Trump administration have been defense spending. There's the free speech angle, which the US has been really hammering European nations on, particularly the UK, considering they have 12,000 people arrested every year for social media posts.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Like the 4 times the number of people arrested in Russia, which is crazy.
That we know of.
Reported people arrested in Russia for. Okay.
You can never trust the stats.
No,
out of Russia.
no. But at least at the high level, it looks pretty grim. So it's an interesting speech, and it hasn't really received much attention here in Australia. I think for the most part, Australia is still kind of sitting with its fingers in its ears, going la 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 la, no, not listening. And that goes to Prime Minister Carney's speech as well. Like, we're sitting down here in a state of blissful ignorance, trying to pretend that the world's not changing before our eyes. And when it does, it's really going to slap us in the face.
I mean, are we far away enough though that will it be as impactful if something happens and you have to address this change? I think it's sort of more domestic, don't you think? Because him here talking to Europe, we're not included in that. So isn't it more our domestic issues will be faced domestically, not with input from the US?
I actually thought, just drawing on that, it was a direct warning to us. Basically, we're in the Indo-Pacific area, which is a long way from the US, and it's a long way from NATO. But it's not that far away from China, and the US is pacing rival there, and potentially a future conflict. That's what people are speculating. But from that speech, I took that the US is going to prioritize winning some greater conflict or winning their industrial rivalry over their allies' defense spending and defense capability. So basically, from my point of view, Rubio was saying, if you're an ally of the US, you've got to spend enough to protect yourself. The US can't afford to protect itself and do what they need to do, and also cover your defense needs. And so if push comes to shove there in some greater conflict, if you haven't spent GDP to meet that marker, the US is going to leave you to hang you out to dry, basically.
Do you reckon they actually would?
I don't know where they would, but that's what I got from the speech.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it would seriously depend on where and how America's interests intersected at that point in time.
What if it was a conflict or something that didn't really, not impact them as much, but wasn't as directly impactful of their needs?
I would suspect that they go,
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
It's about, from most of the speech, he was talking about, allies being effective allies.
Yeah. There was a very clear thread of we have to do this together. And there was a lot of strong language tying back to the shared history that America and Europe have, in that they're both the products of the Enlightenment and the experiments in democracy and self-governance and parliamentary and presidential republics.
Yeah.
So there's a strong history there together, and there was a very, very strong reiteration by the Secretary Rubio saying, we're in this together, but to your point, Rob, we can't do this by ourselves. We actually need you guys to start pulling your weight.
Yeah.
And start really doing things to help yourselves. And that's economic, that's industrial, that's energy, that's your social cohesion. There's big concerns. I was reading something the other day around concerns in Germany about whether or not conscription would actually work with some of the new Germans, because it would potentially feed into existing radicalization within those communities, and then essentially
Conscription would.
Yeah, and you would essentially arm them and train them, and then you've got them working as a more effective, organised fifth column within your community.
Interesting outlook.
It was a very interesting perspective to look at, and one can't help but think there's probably some accuracy in that.
I don't know.
Part of this Rubio speech, though, that I did think immediately came to mind was that he brought it back to NATO to say, we're in this together. Over the last couple of months, the statements that Trump has had about, was it Greenland that they were saying, has very much been about US versus Europe. Basically you'll play the game. But I did think Rubio brought it back and was like, oh, actually, we're in this together.
I think it's important for people. The most important thing for people to take away from President Trump is that he's actually given you all a manual on how to deal with him.
Yeah, but
pick the bloody book up and read it.
I feel like this very you work for us, work with us kind of hostility is. I mean, I'm not a politician, obviously, but I don't know if that's the best way to go about working with foreign nations.
But see, this is the thing, right? In the European case in particular, they have been taking the piss for so long. Going back to George W. Bush.
Yeah.
And, President Obama called them a bunch of freeloaders because they weren't spending what they needed to for NATO. So this is not something that's just come out of the blue. It's been a long time.
The spending part, I see the point for that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel just sometimes the hostility that comes across is I don't know if that's the best way to work with your allies.
It is new, but can you really call them allies if they're not doing what they have contractually signed up to say they will do?
Yeah, I think you can. they're still allies.
Yeah, but are they? If they're not meeting their contractual obligation,
yeah.
How are they an ally? They're not meeting their minimum standards.
Yeah, I think that there's just a way that it can be communicated probably in a more effective way that would lead to a better outcome.
You might be able to do that. I think it's certainly possible.
Yeah.
But that is a conversation that's going to take a lot longer, and
we don't have time.
I believe that the US knows that they do not have time to have this long, drawn-out conversation about responsibilities. Do we not have time? The current estimate, and I believe this is 2027 for the US.
Taiwan,
for the Taiwanese, some sort of Taiwanese action is 2027.
Great.
It's very close.
Yeah.
You don't have 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see, regardless of whether or not Trump was the president, I could see a reality where the Europeans don't get involved in any conflict in Taiwan.
That'd be a big call.
I can go, but I would say that with Trump, they don't do it just to spite him, because if we know anything about particular European leaders, I'm looking at you, Macron, and Ursula von der Leyen, and some of the other European leaders, they are particularly spiteful and really don't like Trump. So I think they'd be more inclined to leave the US on their own in Taiwan, because they can legitimately step back and go, hey, it's the other side of the planet, right? We don't really need to be involved in this.
Do they probably don't need to be involved in it.
Well, what is it, 95% of the world's semiconductors and microprocessors come out of Taiwan?
Something like
really?
that. I don't think it's it's like 80s.
Okay.
Because there's some in
A
China.
high,
There's
a
some
high
in China.
percent.
Yeah.
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 So they can say, hey, look, not our circus, not our clowns, right?
Yeah.
I would be more concerned that if something kicks off in Taiwan, that's a Chinese-led circus. The US responds to that, and then you have an equally Russian-led circus kicking off in Europe.
Oh, God, I'm not getting into this again.
Schrodinger's
Schrodinger's Russia cannot,
But imagine, using the best resources from both countries, the best way to divide America's attention.
I do agree with you, but this is the whole thing with the Ukrainian conflict. Like, Russia cannot simultaneously be getting whipped by Ukraine and at the same time be a real credible threat to be rolling through the plains of Poland and then into Paris in 3 weeks. It's just, it can't, like they cannot simultaneously be true. It's one or the other. And I think we have to accept that it's actually probably less likely that Russia's capable of rolling through Poland, Germany, and then into Paris, and more likely that they are kind of going to be stuck fighting a defensive conflict basically in perpetuity now.
Yeah.
It's a holding action, right? Like they're just holding on to what they've got.
Yeah.
There was probably experts saying that they couldn't invade Ukraine as well, at the start of hostilities.
Couldn't or wouldn't. They're very different. They're very different
terms.
Yeah.
That would be, you can look at it rationally and say, Russia can't or won't invade Ukraine at the start of hostilities, or you can say, based on mentality we've seen from Putin and different, leadership from the Russians, they might just have a crack for the hell of it.
But what does it gain? Particularly if the Europeans don't get involved in Taiwan, what does it gain? Taiwan would theoretically, galvanize the Europeans, recognizing, America's really distracted, because that would result in significant military withdrawal from Europe as they pivot to the Pacific.
Right.
So therefore, Europe would have to really step up its game, but there may be an effort. There may be a situation in which the US withdrawal does embolden Russia, but with where Russia is at the moment and where it would be in 12 or 18 months' time, could it mount a counteroffensive that would roll over most of Europe? Again, I don't think so. I can't see it. Manpower-wise, material-wise, I can't see it. Doctrine-wise, have the Russians learned from their historically tried and true throw men at the problem? I can't see it.
Yeah, but that's thinking about it rationally. Can they spare the men and stuff? From an ideological point of view, if you want to establish your new Soviet Iron Curtain or whatever, which is, we know this is what Putin believes, you just throw people at the problem.
Yeah.
You don't care about the economy and stuff at that point.
Well, there's nothing like an economy. Yeah. Nothing gets an economy going quite like a war. But yeah, I can't see the Russians doing it, and I can't see Europe intervening in support of the US.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like
the UK
at the end of the day, Europe will support America.
I'm not saying they won't.
Yeah.
I'm saying materially they won't. They won't provide manpower. They won't provide resources. It'll be Europe standing in the corner going, "You can do it."
I don't know.
Is this the second podcast we've been in where I've quoted the "You can do it" guy
you
from
quoted it.
Yeah.
Last week. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and the other point of view, we're kind of circling around in circles now, but the other point is, perhaps Russia can redistribute some of those forces to the Indo-Pacific. So that's through Sevastopol and that side as well.
Yeah.
Towards so on.
Yeah, that creates a whole other kettle of fish with Russia's nuclear arsenal, which is It's too gloomy for a Wednesday.
Yeah,
It's a hot, sunny Wednesday.
there's think tanks in the US figuring this out, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I believe they're suspiciously located near the pizza shops next to the Pentagon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we have one final bit of news, and it's a little bit more cheerful.
Yes.
Bethany,
Yeah.
new military working dog facilities to strengthen care
Yes.
for defence canines.
Yeah.
Take it away.
At RAF Base Tyndall, they have a new facility for the military dogs. So keeping them healthy. It was $8.9 million for the facility, and there's a lot of different features for the well-being of the dogs. So climate-controlled kennels, noise-reduced areas, automated refill stations, and a hydrotherapy pool for muscle and injury support.
That's
Isn't that really cute?
That's good.
I can just see them all in the pools.
They're needed in the NT. It'd be hot.
Yeah,
exactly.
Tyndall's a beautiful part of the world, said no one ever.
But,
I take that back for
Send
people
your hate
stationed.
mail to
Yeah.
Steve.
I take that back for people stationed at Tyndall. My commiserations. But no, it's nice to see. We do often forget our four-legged friends are with us on the battlefield, and it's nice to see them being looked after. I do have a dachshund, so who may or may not, knock on wood he doesn't, but may have some back issues in the future the way he carries on. So I might send him up for some hydrotherapy in the pool. He does like to think of himself as a guard dog, but
so does my dog. He's a cavoodle. He's 6 kilos. He thinks he's huge. He probably thinks he's the size of your dog.
yeah, no, Duke's 8.8 kilos, and he's got to lose a kilo. So
Oh no, he's overweight.
yeah.
You can do some swimming up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll send him up. Air Force, we'll be dispatching Duke to RAF Tyndall to support the military working dogs up there.
I wonder how, we're talking about military working dogs. I wonder how they factor into that littoral combat training. Do they get retrained on landing craft and stuff? How does that
I
go?
mean, they would.
This is so cute.
They would theoretically have to be familiarised with ribs and
Bit of a beach run.
and
Yeah.
Oh,
Surf, sun and sand.
they're so smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
And look, if anybody in the military working dog unit want to pop in for a visit
That's
to
such
Defence
a good
Connect
idea.
headquarters,
Yeah.
you can certainly do that and
That's
bring a
an
couple of
amazing
your
idea.
four-legged friends. We'd be happy to host you guys for the day.
Bring one
That's
of
actually
those
such a
padded
good
dummy
idea.
suits
Oh my
for
God.
Steve. Yeah.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
I
Test him out.
was thinking, I think we were going to put Jake in it. Well, that's all we have time for today, guys. Thank you very much for your time, as always. For people who want to stay up to date with the latest in defence and defence industry, head over to defenceconnect.com.au, or you can find us on all your social media outlets. Until next time, bye-bye.